Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
I want to go ahead and go to Jesse Trentadue. I appreciate him joining us. Jesse, recap for everybody what happened to your brother, who you are, the court cases, the incredible bombshells that you've been able to bring out with Larry Nichols about McVeigh being a government operative, which we knew, but now confirmed, government documents about the Southern Poverty Law Center running the white supremacist compound, and then the latest information.
Well, first of all, Mr. Jones, I'd like to thank you for having me back on and remind your audience that you were the first person to break this story nationally back in 2005. Basically, my brother was picked up in Southern California, transferred to Oklahoma, and killed 2 days later. He was tortured and murdered while in federal custody. We had a parole violation. Years ago, he'd been a bank robber. He'd been caught. He'd pled guilty, did his time. He was out 8 or 9 years, married, working, got in a dispute with his probation officer about drinking beer, and they picked him up. We couldn't understand why they sent him to Oklahoma. After his death, and shortly before Tim McVeigh was executed, I received a message from McVeigh saying that when I saw your brother's picture and heard what happened to him, I wanted you to know that he was killed by the FBI because they thought he was Richard Guthrie. And Guthrie was one of a dozen people who helped McVeigh carry out the bombing of the Murrah building. And so I started to pursue that angle about why I never knew why my brother was sent to Oklahoma and why he had been tortured and killed. And so I was leaked 2 teletypes from FBI Director Louis Freeh, who was the director under the Clinton administrations, talking about this sting operation being run out of a white supremacist compound in Elohim City, Oklahoma. It was a paramilitary training complex. It was a joint operation, according to these documents, between the FBI and the Southern Poverty Law Center. And the plan was to lure in the neo-Nazi militia types to this training center under the pretense of teaching them how to make war against the federal government. As it turned out, the FBI had at least 4 or 5 informants in that center who were robbing banks in armored cars with McVeigh to get the money to bank the bomb, and one of their informants was actually the explosive instructor. So I sued to get these documents. The FBI came back and said there are no such documents, and I filed 2 in court, the 2 that had been leaked to me. I knew they'd come back and say that they were fake, and I had an affidavit ready from a retired FBI agent who said they were legitimate. The federal judge goes ballistic. He orders the FBI to go back and do a manual search.
By the way, let me stop you. These good FBI agents are risking their lives to bring this out. Go ahead.
There are people who have, I think, have gone to great lengths to expose themselves to harm to do that. So they come back with 155 documents, they tell the judge, 155 pages. And they say, please don't make us turn these over because we have promised 4 or 5 people anonymity, these informants, and if their names come out, they're at risk. And the judge said, well, you can black the names out and you turn the documents over. And so what happened is I ended up with 155 documents. And I was immediately contacted by most of the national media who asked for those documents. I gladly gave them to them, and I asked them, are you going to do this story? And they said, no, this is so ugly, we want to be second. And to your credit, Mr. Jones, I think you were the first person who went national with that story back in 2005. So once I get the documents, I see that the earliest one is dated April 19th, 1995, the day of the bombing. And I go back to the court and I say to the judge, I said, Your Honor, there's no way this sting operation sprang to life 2 hours after the bomb went off. It had to have been in place before. And I had been given then a sealed transcript of a proceedings in federal court in Oklahoma where an alcohol, tobacco, and firearms agent is talking about one of their informants had warned 4 months before the bombing about the attack and had even scouted the target with McVeigh and the bombers. And I then asked the court for permission to take the deposition of Terry Lynn Nichols, who wanted to tell the truth. In fact, he'd written it to Attorney General Ashcroft and said, I will tell you everything if you come and see me. Who was involved, the FBI informants involved, and the fact that one informant apparently provided the detonators for the bomb. Ashcroft not only doesn't go see him, but Ashcroft issues an order that Nichols is to have no contact with the media. And why I'm pursuing this is because my brother was a virtual look-alike for Richard Lee Guthrie. Both my brother, the description for John Doe 2 when my brother was picked up and murdered was white male, dark-complected, 5'9", believed to be driving a mid-1980s Chevrolet pickup truck, dragon tattoo left forearm. My brother was 5'9", dark-complected, driving a 1986 Chevrolet pickup truck, dragon tattoo left forearm. That was the same description of Richard Lee Guthrie, and not surprisingly, Guthrie also was found supposedly hanging in his cell while in federal custody. I had an eyewitness to my brother's torture and murder. A month before the trial was to start, he was found hanging in his cell in federal custody. Meanwhile, the court issued that order. That was in September of 2007. The FBI came back.
Let's be clear, they're killing your witnesses right now, so this is getting really serious.
They come back, well, they tried twice to indict me. They come back with a motion to reconsider. We fight that out for a year. Here, last September of 2008, the court denied the motion to reconsider and said those depositions are going to go forward. And then now the FBI has appealed to delay it further. But interestingly, Mr. Jones, not once has the FBI denied the accusations, and the accusations are horrible, that you set up this sting operation. You had at least 4 months prior knowledge of the bombing. You even supplied the materials to carry it out, and you never stopped it. And you killed my brother because you thought he was Richard Lee Guthrie.
They thought he was one of the witnesses they had to kill.
Yes.
Now, what about this other witness to your brother's murder who now got hung in his cell?
All I know is he was a witness to the murder. He described for me the torture, and then a month before we were going to go to trial in Oklahoma, they find him supposedly hanging in his cell. The trial resulted in approximately $1 million verdict for my family against the Department of Justice. We've recently, and if I can say so, we've trying to take care of my brother's wife and son, pay our debts, and we have $250,000 left over, and we put up a reward for the FBI agents who did this. And the website is my brother's initials, Kenneth Michael Trentadue, KMTReward.com. It has all the information. It has the pictures, the conclusive evidence of the torture and the murder. And I might warn your audience that they're pretty horrific. You've seen them.
Now, Mr. Trentadue, you need to say on record, and I want to say on record as well, I will never commit suicide. I love life. If I am hung in a cell, it was murder. Would you like to put that on record as well?
Well, I've said that repeatedly. And one of the things I appreciated what you've done is I knew the safest, wisest thing I could do is once I got this information is not keep it to myself. I had to immediately get it out in public so that there would be less incentive for somebody to do any harm to me, which I've been successful in doing. And to get around to your comment at the beginning of the show is the Attorney General, Eric Holder. How does he fit into this? Mr. Holder was Deputy Attorney General under the Clinton-Reno Justice Department. Mr. Holder's job was to basically cover up my brother's murder, to stop all inquiry. And I think I provided you with a series of emails back and forth in the Department of Justice talking about Mr. Holder, involving Mr. Holder's role, and they're inflammatory. I mean, they refer to it as the Trentadue mission. They childlessly refer to it as Trenadues and Trenadon'ts. They talk about it as being harder than coordinating the invasion of Normandy, and it sets up there that Holder's job is to stop the Democrats and Republicans from looking into this, and his prime targets are Senators Hatch and Dorgan.
Has this been posted yet?
No one's. It's again this.
No, see, I'm so busy. You sent this to me like what, a while back. I've been so busy trying to keep track of 1 million balls in the air. I need to talk to you during the break. We need to get this up right now for our own safety. Aaron, will you come in here, please? I was told about the emails. I believe they tried to get me to read them. I had 50 things going on, and I will make sure that we get these up today. But
the thing you have to ask yourself is why is a deputy Attorney General of the United States involved in covering up the death of an inmate? And the answer is simple, that they knew that death, if investigated, would lead back to the bombing. It would lead back to the government's knowledge and involvement. And this all preceded the 1996 election, which would have been a disaster for the Clinton White House had this come out.
Where do you see this going? He's very high profile. They're pushing him for Attorney General. He was involved in the Waco and Oklahoma City cover-ups. They're talking about the Trentadue mission. This is just so cold. We know they tortured Terrence Yeagy, the cop of the year,